call this City Commission meeting of the City of Pahokee, Tuesday, September the 30th, 2025, to order at 6:01 p.m. May we please stand for the invocation provided by Commissioner McDonald, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the Most High God, we come before you, giving you thanks, honor, and praises that you're so worthy of. We ask right now for your guidance and your leadership as we indulge into this meeting for the selection of our city manager, interim or otherwise. We thank you, God, that you would give us the knowledge that we need to make the decision that will be pleasing in our sight. And we ask that everything that we do will be according to your will. We give you all the honor, all the praise, in your Son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Babb.
Present.
Vice Mayor Calvin Williams.
Present.
Commissioner McDonald.
Present.
Commissioner McPherson.
Present.
Commissioner Scott.
Present.
City Manager.
Present.
City Attorney. Here. City Clerk is present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, staff. And most importantly, thank our residents for being here this afternoon to participate and listen in on our deliberation as we undertake the process of selecting an interim city manager. We'll be interviewing approximately 9 candidates this afternoon. Each candidate will give an opportunity to do an introduction, to give a little background, some of your training and work experience and whatever you want to say at that time. Afterward, we would ask you some questions. We have 10 questions we'll be asking. Each of the commissioners, along with myself, will be asking 2 questions each. After that, we'll be rating you. So if you see us taking notes, that don't mean we're not listening attentively to you. We are, but we want to make sure we record and take some notes so we'll be able to make a informed decision when that time comes. I will ask at this time for the candidates, if you don't mind, and this is a courtesy and it is an option on your behalf, if you would go to our conference room so it wouldn't be a disadvantage or advantage of someone who would be able to hear the question and the answers of other candidates. So if you would do that, I would be so pleased to have that done. And we'll be calling candidates by the alphabetical order. So our clerk or our sergeant at arms will go and get the candidates when we call you. Mr. Jackson, we have a staff to show them where the conference room, and hopefully it's open. If not, we need to make sure we get it open.
Mayor Bab,
Yes,
while we
ma'am.
wait, one of the candidates could not make it in person. We're not able to live stream because of technical difficulties right now, and we're not able to do Zoom. So if it's the commission's pleasure, we're able to call this candidate by phone. Is that what you guys want to do? They were not able to make it in person. So would you like me to proceed?
Let's see, Commission. At this time, Commissioners, we have one candidate that was unable to attend live. Would not have the capability this afternoon to have a Zoom meeting with that individual. I need to have a vote to see whether or not you want to permit that. It's up to the commission as a whole, whether or not we would allow this individual. I have no idea who it is.
I don't
matter. Are there any objections to that? Seeing no objection, we'll allow that
Okay.
when that person times come.
Okay, so I'll just try to get him on the phone in the interim.
What number is the candidate?
It is I believe the last one. It's the last one.
So what are you doing? Just their number, you'll be calling them back?
Yeah,
Okay.
because they're not on the phone, but I guess they were expecting to be able to participate by phone or Zoom, but we can't do the Zoom. We don't have the bandwidth right now to do it, so do you want me to wait and then call them when their time comes?
Yes.
Okay.
And you'll be announcing who's up for interviewing, and we'll have Ms. Polanco go and get the individual.
Okay. So he's just asking for you to get the individuals once we call them. You ready? Just let me know when you guys are ready.
Yes,
So-
we're ready for the first. Yes.
Yes. So the first person would be Ramsey Boakley.
I had a question about that before we started. On the first candidate that we have, I know he said see resume, but there were questions on the application that needed to be answered. So I know he said see resume, but it didn't answer all of the questions. No supervisor, may we contact them? Any of those questions was answered. It was just that he did the resume, but didn't complete the application. So are we still going to move forward with interviewing them, even though the application wasn't done? Okay, just checking.
They're all located in recess.
Yes, okay. Ms. Clark, just as a brief introduction, you just announced the candidate as they come.
The first candidate is Mr. Ramsey Boakley.
Yes, Bulkley.
Boakley.
Okay, Mr. Ramsey, thank you for coming and applying for the interim city manager position. We'll be conducting interviews. You'll have 10 questions, 2 by each of the commission here and we'll then rate you based on your answers and your resume and all the information we have before us. So at this time, if you would give a introduction and a background of who you are and your capability of being an interim city manager, you have 5 minutes to do that at this time. Up to 5 minutes. You don't have to take the 5 minutes, but up to 5 minutes.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone and commissioners. My name is Ramsey Bulkley. I am interested in this position partly because I think my experience through the last maybe 10, 15 years has led to a position of this magnitude that involves so many different aspects in running a city. Brief background on just my professional history, since I only have 5 minutes, but it's also in my resume, but maybe for some of the public. Public service started right out of college. I've got a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice, a Bachelor of Science in Community and Regional Planning, and I also have a law degree where I concentrate in land use and zoning and development type issues. About 13 years ago, I was hired as the Director of Code Enforcement for Palm Beach County, about 35, 40 people in that department. And as you can imagine, Palm Beach County, as big as it is, faced a multitude of problems. So I became very experienced with working with PBSO, developers, city staff, county staff, commissioners, administration, budgets, to try to do the best we could for the city. I keep saying the city, for the county, within constraints that we had. That happened for quite some time. Actually got a Golden Palm Award, and I started moving up the ranks from Code Enforcement Director to Deputy Executive Director of Planning, Zoning and Building, to then the Executive Director of Planning, Zoning and Building, which was in charge of planning, zoning, building, code enforcement, contractor certification, and also had administration. That had about an $80 million budget, and we did about $2.7 billion worth of development every year. That involved me running a shop with approximately 400 people, from 30 attorneys all the way down to regular secretaries. So there's a huge dynamic that you had to deal with, and also be very results orientated. I found one of my strengths was to be able to adapt to a high profile litigation lawsuit in the county, to then going to someone who's really struggling to make ends meet. They really got some code enforcement issues, and actually explaining things to them and helping them, trying to get things better without just pulling out the whip and whipping them where they can't do anything. So I saw it more of helping come to compliance, and that's what I really enjoyed about the job. After I left the county, I went and worked for WGI, which I believe had some contracts here within the city, and there I did mainly marketing and also problem solving when things would pop up, how best to resolve them. And then most recently, I have my own consulting firm where I do land use and zoning matters and basically defend people with code enforcement actions. I have a little 10-month-old and a 4-year-old, live about 45 minutes away in Palm Beach Gardens, love fishing, love the lake, and frankly the drive out here is actually quite pleasant. So one of the key things I also have is I was lucky enough when working with the county, with Commissioner McKinley was really involved in this area, getting to work with PBSO and all the issues that popped up, and finding a way through either code enforcement, building or zoning to fix things, but then also to help and teach some of the municipalities how better to run systems to make it more effective and make it better on the community. So that's my brief introduction, and ready for any questions that you may have.
Okay. First two questions will be asked by Commissioner McPherson Sr.
Okay, the first question, we've somewhat touched on it, but first question is, why have you applied for the interim city manager position with the city of Pahokee?
So the position, from going through the research, it's all encompassing, right? It's running a whole community, and I want to do good on the community and see the results. I like this area. I got somewhat attached when we were doing all the problems with the rentals out here and the problems with the workforce housing, and I want a way to try fix those types of things And I enjoy teaching and I enjoy fixing, and I'd like to be able to use my education and experience to help fellow citizens live better lives and also make the city more prosperous. I think there's a lot of benefits and things that the city can do here. We just have to tap into the right resources and tap into the right people. And frankly, I think my skill set, also being an attorney, dealing with government for quite some time now, both in the private sector and in the government, I'm very familiar with all the rules and regulations. And it's a job that would just use all my skill sets together. And that's kind of rare to find a job that's, not only do I have to budget, I have to deal with staff, infrastructure, where's money coming from, all the political aspects of it, and then also my technical knowledge. I used to build houses, I used to be a plumber, I used to drive heavy equipment, now I'm a lawyer. Putting that all together, and then also law enforcement plays a really big role to get things, to make it where it's a good, nice, peaceful city where people want to come. So in sum, I want to work here, and the reason I applied here is because I like my efforts to go to something good, and at the end of the day be able to show something and also have people have better lives by my knowledge and input.
Second question, a two-part question. How many years of municipal budget experience do you have, and in what capacity?
Probably about 15 years. The biggest capacity would be my most recent as Executive Director for Planning, Zoning and Building. About an $80 million budget, 400 employees, going through that budget every year, whether it's uniforms to cars, to leased spaces, to what's our income going to be. With that, we had an enterprise fund, that being the building department, that didn't use ad valorem dollars, so that stood on its own. So that was also a little bit of a different animal. So, going downtown and sitting with county administrator and the budget folks for the entire county and going line item by line item, I can see where we can make money, I see where we lose money, and I have a lot of experience in trying to adjust that. I've always had a balanced budget, never ran short, in fact have excess. The building department actually had probably about $30 or $40 million is in excess that we kept that there in case something bad happened, like a big downturn, we could still keep everyone paid. So I've had quite a significant amount of budgeting experience when it comes to local government.
I'd like the next two questions. Explain your understanding of the principle of city budgeting.
The principle of city budgeting is to keep us in the black and out of the red, but also make the most efficient use of the dollars that we bring in and create revenue sources that don't hinder or hamper the city, but are legitimate income sources in which to sustain the city. I think waste is a big issue that everyone needs to deal with no matter where they are. So we have to be smart with how you spend the money. Sometimes it may be worthwhile spending more to get a better product as opposed to spending less and get a worse product, and then we're there chasing our tail trying to fix a bad problem and throwing money after a bad problem. So I think budgeting, you really have to dive into it and have a look as to where and how things are going. Luckily, with working with the budgets that I did in the county, I'm pretty familiar with how things are, and also running, working with WGI, seeing how the government contracts are let, and seeing, where some of the waste is and where we can cut, but still get the product we need. I'm not a huge advocate just to spend, but we do have to spend in order to keep the city going properly, running efficiently, and also make it where people want to come either visit and or live. Without the infrastructure and without spending some dollars, that just won't happen.
The next question will be, how would you ensure transparency and accountability in the city operations? In other words, what measures would you take to see that the city commission and the public understand the place in the city hall? Understand what take place in City Hall, I'm sorry.
So what I did at my position with the county, I engaged a lot with the public, and there's a lot of misconceptions. You just look at the news, look at social media, there's so many misconceptions of what really goes on. And I found out my best way to make things transparent was to engage with the local community, whether it's HOAs, whether it's just groups of folks, and explain how things actually really work. To the point where I used to have people just come shadow me and sit next to me so they could see everything. You know, we got the sunshine laws here. There's no secrets, in my opinion. Everything has to be out in the open, and they need to understand, you know, to the potential layperson or the person that's not involved in all these transactions and or contracts, they may look at a figure and say, well, this is outlandish, but once you explain why that figure is there, they might have a better understanding. Additionally, I think it's crucial that I work hand in hand with the commission and keep the commission informed of anything that may be an issue, or any trends that may be popping up. You folks need to be made totally aware of that, because the last thing I want is for you to get caught, you know, off guard at a meeting where public comes up to you and says, I heard you doing this and this and that, and you have no clue about any of that that's going. So within reason, keep everyone informed, and, you know, I mean, it's just keep everyone informed. Everything's open, and community engagement is key. And also, I would want to meet with all of you folks on a very regular basis to let you know what's happening, what's coming down the pipe, so that you could also just, you know, just send that out to your constituents as you see fit, so that everyone knows what's going on. But I also, sometimes it's to my detriment, I also always gave, everyone knew my phone number, they could always text me or email me, and I was available 24/7. So if something did pop up, I would go to an HR meeting, give my phone number out, and someone would call me. They may not want to see me, you know, face to face in a meeting, but they may feel more comfortable on the phone, and I could spend the time explaining certain things to them. Granted, not everyone's going to be happy, but, you know, as long as I explain whys and hows certain decisions are made, I think that's what's key with the transparency and where are the funds going. You know, if people are paying these taxes, they want to know where's it going. And I think it's part of my job is to explain where it's going and how it's going. Sometimes, you know, we spend money now to collect 5 or 10 years later down the road, and people need to understand, yeah, you won't see things right away, but we're putting it in place for the longer game.
Okay. Next two questions will be asked by Commissioner McDonough.
Describe your work experience and why you think that you're best suited to be the interim city manager for the city of Pahokee.
Okay, my work experience as it relates most closely to this position would be the positions I held for the last 10 or so years within Palm Beach County. Running planning, zoning, and building for Palm Beach County with about 400 employees it's like running a small city. My budget just for that were bigger than most of the municipalities within the county. The issues we faced were huge issues because it always involved, you know, big development, lots of money, lots of attorneys, but at the same time, dealing with the people that didn't have all of that, and how do we do that? You know, we're facing a crisis where everything's getting outpriced, and how do we fix that? And, you know, by changing the code to make it some incentives for some workforce housing type things or some lower income type housing, but make it quality was key. So my experience with dealing with a county with a $7 billion budget, and I was just a tiny piece of that, and running my entire shop, one that I previously stated with an enterprise fund that earns its own money, and then the rest of the departments with ad valorem. So it was essentially running a small city in and of itself. We dealt with, with the planning and zoning the process, we had to deal with between 14 and 17 different agencies hand in hand, from environmental resources to PBSO, to the school board. There's 7 different agencies that would all come, and we would be the filter or the gathering agency, put all that information together and then disperse it. So I got a great understanding of how the entire county works, because when you develop something, it touches everything from schools to impact fees to roads, law enforcement to environment, traffic, you name it. And when it's all coming through PZMB, you get to really understand how this machine runs. So I was put in the unique position of running that huge machine with, you know, 400 people, and not everyone gets along, and not everyone wants to do their job. So it's those unpleasant things when people are no longer employed anymore, and how do you do that without getting into lawsuits and how do you make it a good work environment, and how do you make people want to come and work, not just show up for a paycheck, but how do you make them want to come and be proud of where they work. And also, I learned to give people that wanted to try, give them the tools they need to succeed is one of the great things I learned over there. And it was very surprising when you gave the people the tools and they learned those, they excelled. And sometimes a certain position wasn't for them and they weren't doing so great, but then when you see what their real interests are and you give them that position, they excel. And I really learned that was great, and then teach them how to do it and feed them. So with all those different kinds of employees, from folks that were 75 to just getting out of college, I had to deal with, all of those personalities. They came from all different places, all different backgrounds. So I really learned how to really be a people person and roll up sleeves, get dirty. I mean, there's the Joe Louis apartments there down in Belglade. I must have been there 15 times walking around in absolute filth. No one in my position would ever do that in the past, but I felt I needed to do that so I could really understand what's going on here. I don't need sometimes just getting a piece of paper or report for someone doesn't actually do it. So it's actually drive through, and I drove through this, Pahokee many a time to see what's really going on. Stop at one of the convenience stores, ask someone, how's it going, what's the issue? And you'll see it's totally not what other folks think it is. And so I learned to really get engaged with the public, because ultimately we work for them and we're going to do what's best for them. They may not agree all the time, but that's one of my key things I learned whilst being at the county.
Describe your leadership style.
My leadership style is, I'm not the person that wants to hire people that are just going to say yes sir to me. I want to hire people that have ideas that can challenge me. If I'm in a room with my upper leadership team, I don't want everyone to say yes sir, yes sir. I want them to say, hang on, Ramsey, I think this is a better way. And then we talk about it, and if their way works and it's better, we go with that way. I want the best. If someone goes over my head to get an answer, well, that's well and good, and I don't get upset about that as long as it's the right answer. My leadership style involves, I'm very hands-on. I can jump to water utilities, I can jump to the traffic, go see how they're doing on the streets, do a ride along with PBSO, I've done many a time, figure out, what's going on. I like to understand the problem. A quick example, when I was doing code enforcement, I made all my guys ride around with PBSO, and one of the things we noticed riding around with PBSO was, during the day, the hole in the fence doesn't look like a big deal. But at night, that's where all the bad stuff's happening, because they're running through that hole in the fence to get away from these guys, and it's really making an issue, and then all the lights in the parking lot are out, so it's all dark, so all the nefarious activity happens. So I wouldn't know that, but for being a part of it. So my leadership style is to be a part of it and understand the problems, so then I can come back, get the property owner to fix lights and fix the fence, to stop some of those things. So it's more of understanding. I am direct, but at least you know where you stand with me. I'm direct, and I like to get the job done. I'm very results orientated, and if there's a problem, tell me and we'll fix the problem. But I like to be results driven, and have my staff come to me and say, hey, we're having a problem with this, let's figure it out, not just ignore. So I want to keep things open. I do keep things open, and that's why people can email me. We're emailing me anonymously, calling me, or just come to speak to my secretaries and say, hey, give this note to Ramsey. And sometimes it'll be anonymous, but I wanted feedback. But also I'm very hands-on, and I want to understand how the thing works before I make big decisions that affect everything.
The next two questions will be asked by Vice Mayor Williams.
Understanding that you are not in the position, and it may be hard to know unless you are doing the job, how would you prioritize the needs of the city of Pahokee at this point based upon what you have read, heard, or seen?
So this is a two-pronged effect. So number one, I think, work, housing, money are always going to be the issue. So those will be one of the key things, and infrastructure. We've got the marina, that's a beautiful marina. We need to try to figure out how to get some more business there. And also I need to get a census of what's the housing inventory, what's the problems here, and also why aren't some businesses coming here that potentially could. So that's right off the cuff, but in reality, to understand, I would have to sit down with each one of you folks, with the current city manager, some of the heads of the departments, and I'd have to spend some time immersing myself, speaking to folks freely to find out what are the issues, and then also speaking to some of the residents. What are the issues? Because, one resident might have something that's hasn't even popped on anyone's radar that we'd have to figure out. So it would be more of an investigative type thing to see what the issues are. I'd also get with PBSO, get their reports and find out where's the bad stuff happening and why is it happening. Is it hours of operation potentially? Maybe we fix that. What is it? And try counter that. One of the things, if I were to get this position, I would not come in and make massive radical changes right away, because I don't know enough in order to make those changes. I need to be educated and find out what the real problems are to come up with a plan that everyone's on board with before we make these changes. So, I can't see me coming in and just changing everything, because it's not Palm Beach County, it's different. Pahokee is unique. It's unique out here. So we have to come up with some unique ideas, and that will just come by me exploring and speaking, but knowing some of the background, doing all the business development board projects for the county. I know industries have looked out here, and there's always the same old problem that comes up. And so I'd also try work on some of those and try engage more with Kelly Smallridge at the BDB to try see how we can tailor more businesses coming out this way, and what are the hiccups, and start working on those hiccups and try for some more aggressive incentives. That's probably something I could do, relatively easily, and at least identify what the issues are and start, being more active in getting those things here. And then once we get those things here, making sure they're executed correctly, because no business wants to come here, we sell them a product and then we don't deliver. We get such a bad name. So it's going through and delivering. One of the things I'm really good at is, because I was in charge of all of these and because of my background, I know how a project runs from beginning to end, from when they first look at a property and they run the numbers, run the perform, and the bank's involved, and the grants involved, and how to do it, and the timelines, and all the critical, the critical dates. I know how to do that. I know how to build buildings. I know how to do Amazon warehouses, FedExes, the airports, you name it. So just someone driving that bus, pushing whatever agents we have working on, or whatever agents they have, I can really push it so they don't feel like, great, we chose Pahokee, now projects just sitting there, nothing's getting done. I'd be the driving force trying to get these done, so that we, can get a few of these projects here where they turn out well, because then more will come. And I think that's going to be huge to provide some more work opportunities. So again, in sum, my leadership style is I'm direct, but I welcome input. I want the best, and if you're better than me, that's great. We'll go with what you say. But there has to be a level of commitment from both sides of the table, and again, results orientated. And I need to, my thing is, let me find out what the problem is, and then figure out how to solve the problem.
Describe your familiarity with the laws and regulations relevant to city government.
So doing this, my first job out of college 25 years ago was working for the town of Jupiter as a planner. So working from city government from then till now, that's approximately 25 years, that's all I've done. I've had a couple brief stints in private, but the private always involved working with cities. That was my job. I was a land use and zoning attorney, or I worked for a mining company, always involved working with local municipalities. Obviously working within the county, having to deal with everything and anything that came up in the county, very well versed. Again, have a law degree. I'm a licensed attorney. You know, I had a slew, I think at the county, 35 attorneys that were working underneath me. So very astute with all the rules and regulations. And also, frankly, I'm held to a higher standard because I am a member of the Florida Bar. So there's a whole nother set of ethics that govern me with regards to my behavior and what I'm supposed to know about the law. So very comfortable with anything and everything to do with local municipality, laws, rules, regulations, codes, etc.
Okay. Finally, 2 questions will come from Commissioner Scott.
Yes. How many years of management experience do you have?
Probably about 15. All the way from 5 people up to 400.
Okay. The last question is, have you ever been disciplined in any position? If so, what was the outcome of, and why were you disciplined?
I've never been disciplined, but I was terminated from Palm Beach County. It was essentially a mutual termination, but no discipline prior to that. In fact, everything leading up to that, I was promoted.
Oh.
It was more so a difference of opinion. I felt our employees should have been treated differently, and I had the funds and the means to, and my superiors didn't necessarily want to do that, and that's where some of the friction began. So I'm still friends with all of them and still do work with them, but that's what happened there. And also, just to go back to the previous question with experience on municipal laws, no, dealing with code enforcement, you know, hundreds and hundreds of cases a month involves all kinds of COVID issues, etc. So I've had to deal with that. And also we had, you know, a fair amount of lawsuits dealing, you know, going all the way up to the 4th DCA, dealing with municipal law interpretations, etc. that I was a part of with the county attorney's office. So definitely familiar with that. And one of the important things too is, you know, leading us, you know, we want to win certain things and do it right, but we always got to keep our eye open on if someone sues us and if there's an appeal, how do we protect ourselves all the way through that process? So I've been really mindful and good at that, and thus we had not lost a case the entire time and have not lost an appeals case either the entire time.
Ms. Ramsey, that would conclude your interview, and we thank you for taking time to come out and do it. So you'll be hearing from us shortly after this is all over. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
great. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
The next person is Lakeisha Birch. So it appears Ms. Birch is not here, so we're going to move on to Ms. Tammy Bussey.
Welcome, Ms. Bussey.
Thank you.
As you heard previously, we'll be interviewing candidates tonight. We have 10 questions for you. We're going to start off by allowing you to give us a brief introduction about yourself and your experience. You have up to 5 minutes to do that.
Okay, all right. Good evening, as I said. My name is Tammy Thomas Bussey. I am a former resident, born here in Pahokee, raised and completed high school here. I currently live in the acreage, which is the closest city to Pahokee, but I have businesses here, as well as my children, my grandchildren, they're here, and I come back home to do activities. As far as my experience, I have experience in teaching. I have experience as a Palm Beach County commander. What my goal has been and about me is to, do things to help others, to project positive things to the community. I am the daughter of a former First Lady of Pahokee, Elsa Singletary, and with that, she has ingrained in me to be the best that I can be. To share with you, I am the mother of 5 sons. I raised 6. One I adopted, my oldest grandson, and that is my reason for being the person that I am, is to go out and do what I can, to come home and do the best I can to improve what I can. Can't save the world, but my goal is to do the best that I can. In addition to that, I served several community positions. First, I was a teacher's aide, which went into being a teacher, and that assignment was anger management at the Adult Education Center. And then I was a legal secretary at the Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office, which gave me the opportunity to be up close and personal with things to do and not to do. And that was in assisting the attorneys in court cases and getting those papers together for court. Then I went to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, where I spent 25 years. And there I went through the ranks to commander before I left. And in that, it just allowed me to serve the community, to do what I could to improve myself as I spread my goodness, as I call it, to other people. I am, again, a mother. I am a wife. I am a community servant. Right now, I serve in several positions. I am an administrator of the only funeral home here in Pahokee. I am also a regional vice president with Primerica Financial Services, where I assist people with their finances. I educate them on how to manage their money. I educate them on protecting their family, so when they're no longer here, the family will be okay. In addition to that, I also, serve in community events whenever I can. I give back to the community, having giveaways that people can get items that they need without any charge to them. And also, I have been called back after retiring from the Sheriff's Office. I was asked by the Police Benevolent Association if I would assist them in recruiting for the union. And so, as if my plate isn't full, I do what I can. But applying for this position will allow me to move all those things off of my plate, because my desire is to be the city manager of the city of Pahokee, so that way I can do what I can do with teamwork, of course, to make our city better. And so that's about me, and I'm open to any question that you all have.
Thank you for that introduction. The first 2 questions will be asked by Commissioner McPherson Sr.
Okay, the first question. Why have you applied for the interim city manager position with the city of Pahokee?
Okay, why have I applied? The answer to that I kind of covered in my first introduction, but the reason why I applied is that for years I've attended commission meetings, not, needing to be an official to be here. I was here because I cared for my town. And the reason why I applied, I've sat back for many years and watched the things that's happening in our city, and I want to do what I could to improve it. I've looked on the internet and on the news and saw where they were saying Pahokee is one of the worst places to live. I'm not happy with that. So I want to do what I can to improve that. I'm not a superwoman, but I'm gonna do my best to move us forward. I want to implicate things that will allow people to want to come to Pahokee. So I've applied, so as the head administrator, in addition to the commissioners and the mayor, I want to make a difference within my power to make Pahokee a better place.
This is a two-part question. It says, how many years of municipal budget experience do you have, and in what capacity?
How many years of experience? Okay, 1998. As I think back, I've been having budget experience since 1998, so that's 17 years. And that was capacity as dealing with the budget. When I became a sergeant in 1998 at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, I had to assist with the budget as far as what my particular unit needed. I was assigned to the field training office at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. With that, I had to assist in the budget on realizing what equipment we needed for our trainers to use to properly train our staff members. I had to allocate what those costs would be because I had to research when I presented to my lieutenant what I needed, and I had to give justification. Then when I became a lieutenant for the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, now I'm also assisting with the budget because if I'm gonna lead my division, I need to make sure that I know what's missing and what needs to be redone. And so with that, I did that. And then being promoted to a commander, division commander in the Office of Corrections, I'm with the largest, one of the largest agency in Palm Beach County. The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, when I was there, had a budget about $600 million. $2 million of that was assigned to our correction division that I played a part in projecting the budget, staff accountability, in addition to overseeing about 600 staff members. With that, I came about with having the ability to do some strategic planning, okay, budget management, and staff accountability. So all those things played a part in me being responsible for ensuring the budget was as balanced as it could be in my particular unit.
Okay. All right, so next two. Explain your understanding of the principle of city budgeting.
The principle of city budgeting. The first thing I would say is the basic principle and objective of a city budget would be to have a balanced budget. And I think it's where you create a formal plan within the fiscal year of your anticipated spending. And then you would take and project what your revenues would be for that spending. And then once you've done that plan and you budget it, now you have to use those funds to cover the expenditures that you have, projected to use, or those that have come into the fiscal year that you have to cover. And at the end of the fiscal year, you're hoping that all budget and have a balanced budget. So that's my understanding of a city budget, is projecting your spending, expecting this particular revenues, and then paying those expenditures from those revenues, from those funds.
How would you ensure transparency and accountability in city operations? In other words, what measure would you take to see that the city commission and the public understands what is taking place in the city?
Okay. My answer to that is, one, we have a website that we need to utilize to ensure that the citizens, the community, they're aware of what's going on. But the one thing that I have thought about, for the years coming to the meetings is that I'll come to the meetings and I kind of see some things that's happening, that I felt that may not have been useful in the commission meetings. What my project is to start implementing a town hall meeting. We don't have those here now. So I would suggest having town hall meetings so the citizens can come in, express their concerns, and then we come back as a commission, as city manager, to address those issues and to make sure that we are showing the public that, hey, we're listening to you. And we're here in the open for people to come in and see what you're saying, and that we want to ensure that you know that we're addressing those issues. And I think like we're doing, you have openness for the community. You're live streaming, you're letting people know, we're not trying to hide anything. I think that we manage things where we're supposed to manage them, and then as we manage them, let the public know what we're doing, those things they need to know. And so with transparency, I feel that, be open about what's going on. Let the public know about your expenditures that has been set aside for certain things, and those things are being taken care of. So I just believe in transparency, and I think the town hall meetings would be a good place to start. That way they'll know, the citizens will know that you're listening to them. They don't have to come here and try to get a word in through the comments when they're only given a short period of time. Let's have the town hall meetings and then bring them here to the commission meeting once we discuss what they're looking for us to do. And so I feel that that would help with transparency.
The next two questions will be asked by Commissioner McDonald.
Describe your work experience and why you think that you are best suited to be the interim city manager for the city of Pahokee.
Okay, as I stated earlier, I mentioned my work experience, but my biggest experience is, again, being a financial advisor, because I know the budget is very important here. We hear the comments about the budget and what has happened, but we're not looking back. We're looking to go forward. So my experience in the budget management is that I've had the experience where I've talked about some of them, but with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office and myself being a financial advisor right now, I am a financial advisor. I have my Series 6, 26, and 63 license. I could open a bank if I want to because I'm qualified to do so. However, what I'm looking to do is my experience is to show people how to manage. That's part of my experience. Sitting down with people right now, helping them create a financial plan, helping them build that foundation so they don't go broke, because I help them with that. My second experience is with the Sheriff's Office, sitting down with my majors, my colonels, or whoever saying, Major, this is what we need to do. So I've had the experience of writing out strategic planning, helping look at how we're going to get the revenues, if it included getting grants or, getting consultants to come in to assist with putting all together. So I've had those experiences, in the budgeting process and managing the budget.
Describe your leadership style.
My leadership style is one where I believe in encouraging people to do what they're paid to do. I believe in setting the example. I can't ask you to do something that I'm not doing. So I want to show people that they're worthy, because even at the Sheriff's Office, I've experienced where sometimes people don't want to go to work because they feel like they don't care if I'm here. So what I am used to doing and what I have done as a supervisor at the Sheriff's Office and anywhere I worked when I was in a supervisory position is this. I want you to know that you're important. So come do what you're paid to do. My leadership skill is to push people places that they don't think they can go, to give them the encouragement, the motivation to go do this. I was listening to a video this morning that was saying, don't let anyone measure how high you can go. That's up to you. And so my leadership is to direct people, to guide them, and to help them get there as well. I have a motto that I don't want to go up unless I'm bringing someone with me. And that's what I've always strived to do, encourage, pull up, and help them. So I'm looking to do that here. I'm looking to be the leader, that I will guide the citizens. I can work with you all because we have to be a team. There's no I in team. And I know I'm not coming in here to change it all on my own. I know I'm going to have to work with you all, show the community that we're on one page, and then make it happen. So my leadership skill in a nutshell is this. Say what you mean what you say, and go out and do it the right way. That's how I feel about it.
The next two questions will be asked by Vice Mayor Williams.
excuse me, understanding that you are not in the position, and it may be hard to know unless you are doing the job, how would you prioritize the needs of the city of Pahokee at this point, based upon what you have heard, read, and seen?
Okay, how would I prioritize? First of all, I would say, until I get in there and open up the books to see what's going on, I can't guess, and so what I would like to do is get in there, look at what's happening, hopefully speak with Mr. Jackson before he leaves, and then I would like to call in, if I become your city manager, call in every department head that's employed by the city of Pahokee, and we're going to talk about their responsibilities, because in order for us to move forward, we got to know where we are now. So I would prioritize having those meetings with them. I would prioritize and ask, what are the things that we're complaining about? Like you're saying, as far as what we heard, we hear about the marina not being used to bring in visitors and to bring in revenue. So that's one of the things I would like to see. I would also like to see, we're talking about the roads. Let's find out what the expenditures are for that, and let's get that happen, that something happening with that. So I would prioritize those things that, one, we see needs to be done in our community. Two, what are the citizens saying need to be done? And then three, let's go out and hold people responsible for what they're not doing. So I would prioritize things based on the importance, but making sure that everything is covered that needs to be covered.
Describe your familiarity with laws and regulations relevant to city government.
Okay. As far as my knowledge with that, again, I know some things that I would need to learn, once I get into position. So I don't want to, play around with you on that. But as far as the law is concerned, I am a believer in, with the city government, the funds come from your citizens. And their funds should be taken as important because they work hard for those funds that's funding the city. I know that the law states that if it doesn't belong to you, then you shouldn't take it. I think that you itemize what needs to be done, you hold people accountable, and when they violate, you have to seek proper assessment or proper, I won't say punishment, but proper, actions toward their actions. And so I just think the city law is just like any other law. You do right, or you answer for it. Make sure that the funds that are coming in from citizens or grants or, any type of organization, that they're used wisely, and those laws should be followed. And I'm sure those policies and procedures are written, in the city ordinance that I will learn more about, if I am chosen.
Okay, the last two questions will be asked by Commissioner Scott.
Yeah. How many years of management experience do you have?
I became a deputy at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office in 1992. And with that, just simply managing the inmates that are incarcerated to make sure they don't escape, make sure that they're well taken care of, make sure that they're fed, make sure that they're secure. And then as a sergeant, now I'm responsible for overseeing the deputies that are under my command. Make sure that they're coming to work on time, they're doing what they're supposed to do. So I'm managing their activities, their sick time, their vacation time, their evaluation. So I'm managing there. And then as a lieutenant of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, now I'm managing the activities of sergeants to make sure that they are managing their staff that fall under them, to make sure that they're holding them accountable. And so managing that, and then as a commander, managing a whole division, entire division. I'm responsible for everything, not just managing staff, but managing the budget, managing the activity, managing how am I spending the sheriff, well, not the sheriff, but the county's money that comes into the sheriff's department. So management since 1992 as far as direct, and even as a teacher, I still had to manage the classroom to keep order.
Okay. Have you ever been disciplined in any position
Absolutely not. I've never been disciplined. I did what I was supposed to do. I respected it. I was raised, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, to my authorities. And as long as they were not telling me to jump off a building, do anything illegal, I'm gonna follow orders. And I've never, ever, ever, ever been disciplined by anyone.
Ms. Bussey, that concludes your interview. We appreciate you being here and hope your luck.
All right,
Wish luck.
thank you all so
Thank you
much.
so much.
The next person is Colin Donnelly. Now we have Mr. Colin Donnelly.
Good evening, Mr. Collins. We're going to give you 5 minutes to do a brief introduction. Tell me about your experience. Tell us about your experience and your qualification. And after that, we'll ask you 10 questions, 2 each from each of the commissioners. So you may begin.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City Attorney, City Clerk. My name's Colin Donnelly. As you know, I'm a candidate for interim City Manager. I've been involved in local government most of my professional life. I started out in New Jersey working for the local Human Services Agency at the county. Then I had an opportunity to become the assistant to the city manager in a small town in northern New Jersey. The other one had left for a job, and I just started a program of public administration at Rutgers, and I liked it from the start. I liked being able to help people, and the city manager's office was dealing with so many different issues. The city was about 30,000 people, not very large New Jersey standards, but it had a lot going on. It had a lot of challenges with budgetary issues, economic development it was trying to get done, and also just becoming a more professional city. And I worked there for a number of years and finished up my degree in public administration at Rutgers. Then I took a job as the town manager in Newton, which was the county seat in like Pahokee, in a agricultural part of the state, Sussex County. As the county seat, it didn't have a large daytime population, but it swelled. It didn't have a large nighttime population, but swelled during the day. So as the town manager, I was instrumental in starting redevelopment with the city and trying to get some development done. New Jersey tax structure limits the amount of revenue that can be brought in through different means, except through increasing the tax base. So we started with some economic development there and some organizational development. I was hired on a 3-2 vote, and when the next municipal election came around, I was on the other end of the 3-2 vote. I left that position, but I certainly learned a lot about municipal management there. It had a volunteer fire department, and it had a professional police department, and a good sector of good people working there. And what I noticed in working for a smaller community is that
the people who work there have to wear a lot of hats. They have to know a lot of different things. Whereas in bigger governments, you have specialists in different areas. So I think it's a different type of management and understanding about smaller communities. I relocated down to Florida. My wife just couldn't take the cold weather, and so we went down. I got a job at Dania Beach. Again, another small community on Florida standards. And they had never had an assistant city manager before. They were looking to professionalize things. So it was a great opportunity for me to work there and work there a number of years and do a lot of organizational development, making it more professional, particularly with economic development and community development. A lot of work got done, a lot of changes were made in making sure our building department could turn around permits faster. We were active in rebuilding a marina and taking care of a lot of capital improvement projects that had been left undone. While I was there, I was able to act as the interim city manager twice. When I just got there, they replaced the city manager, and I had been there. I was so new. You know, they wanted to go with a more seasoned manager. And then at the end, when I was working there, I was the interim city manager again for a period. And I acted as the city manager when the manager was away. Professionally, I oversaw direct reports for the recreation department, community development, the marina, the beach, and a lot of good hands-on experience. One thing that happened, good relationships with city commissioners, and at the end of my tenure with Dania Beach, I had unfortunately lost my wife. I became a single parent, and when they were looking to replace the city manager, I chose not to go for that position, knowing that I really couldn't commit full-time, knowing that the resources and the time it takes to be a proper city manager. So I left to do some consulting, and they brought me back as a CIP and grant manager, which I had some expertise on. Over the last few years, able to I think, secure over like $37 million in grants for the city. And at one time, I think we were managing 15 active grants and putting together a CIP program to address, it's an older city, so addressing a bunch of neglected sewer and water systems. And of course, everybody's aware of stormwater issues in Florida. So addressing some $1 million stormwater projects. The biggest impact, though, that it had on me was having been part of the administration for a number of years, leaving and then coming back, I had an opportunity to see what another city manager would have done in the organization I was working in from the inside. And that was very instructive to me about my management style or things I could have done better. And I really took note of that. I think it was a real growth opportunity for me. Outside of learning new skills about project management and time management and grants and working with the federal, state, and local community and county governments work for grants. And since then, I've taken the opportunity to increase those skills, which I saw I needed some work on. So I've been working on getting a certification in personnel management. I sharpened my skills with Microsoft. I had this big problem of paper everywhere. I totally went electronic, relying on Microsoft and electronic systems and scheduling to improve my efficiency. I think that's really important in this age. Also, I've been working on procurement. I've taken a few procurement courses. After being in a leadership position for so long and then stepping back and looking at having the perspective of what it's like to work under a manager and not being in a leadership position, you know, I recognized I had some skills that needed sharpening. You know, your sword, sharpen the sword and keep them. And so that's what I've been doing. And I moved back to New Jersey, looking for a change up there about a year ago. And New Jersey is a very highly regulated state. And I didn't have, my certifications were out to date, so it was tough for me to get a job. So I moved back down to Florida because it's more of a fit for me. And I still have a daughter here going to UF. So I'm able to be close to her. And I'm starting to do some more consulting, so I think the interim city manager position would be excellent for me to let you have the benefit of my skills while you go out and search for a city manager. So,
Thank you for that introduction. The first two questions will be asked by Commissioner McPherson Sr.
Yes, sir. Why have you applied for the interim city manager position with the city of Pahokee?
when did I apply?
Why did you apply? Yes, sir.
Well, yeah, like I said, I thought it was an excellent opportunity for me to get back into city administration and to continue to use my skills. I've got a lot of experience, especially as in an interim area. And I think Pahokee, like my experience, has been in small cities, so I understand the resource constraints of small cities. And I do know that when I was an interim city manager the first time, I tried to do a lot of different things in an interim period. And they didn't go so well because it was just an interim period. I learned a lot with that. And then the second time I was an interim city manager, I was better able to steer the ship and to prepare it and work with staff for an incoming city manager. So I think those are things that I could do well for you.
Second question, the two-part question says, how many years of municipal budget experience do you have and in what capacity?
Municipal what?
How many years of municipal budget experience do you have and in what capacity?
Oh, gosh, I would say I've been budgeting my whole entire career, so I'd say over 20 plus. When I started in New Jersey, I was running the budget meetings for the city manager and putting the information together and working closely with the finance manager. The same thing as the township manager. That involves meeting with city commissioners publicly and individually to find out what their goals and expectations are, and doing a lot of hard work on revenue and putting together this really comes back into Florida. Florida is a more entrepreneurial type of government where you have more options. So I was able to work with the city manager and the department heads. Danny Beach had more department heads, so it was more of an administrative capacity of working with each department head, making sure they had what they needed or they knew what they needed. And if we had to do if we were going to prepare program changes for the city, to make sure that we researched that information and had it ready. So if we're going to ask for a big expenditure, doing the research to make sure, giving the commission the backup to show the necessity for the investment and the worthiness of the investment. So I've quite a lot of time budget for.
Explain your understanding of the principle of city budgeting.
Well, I think a lot of people start with the fact of the matter is we're going to do what we did last year and see how the numbers play out. I start from a position of speaking with the city commission and saying, what do you want to do? A budget is a plan, so what's the plan? If it's going to be, we're going to do what we did, we don't want to do anything different, then you can work out your budget numbers as you would. Of course, you really need to work with finance to make sure there's not going to be any trends in the market that you need to know about, say gasoline or chemicals, or know what's going on with labor rates, or if you have a contract due, and projecting what those contracts might do, especially for law enforcement and for uniform people. Those are usually the largest parts of most budgets. So my philosophy would be to meet with the city commission, find out if they want to do anything new, and to go through there. And the other end of it is, especially working with finance, is figure out are there areas where we're underperforming and not using the money the way we thought we would, Are there a lot of transfers in the budget? Things we're chronically not budgeting enough for and transferring in, where we should be putting more money over there? So I think that's what I would have to say.
How would you ensure transparency and accountability in city operation? In other words, what measures would you take to see that the city commission and the public know what it takes in taking place in City Hall?
Well, I think that every day business goes on in City Hall, which is not necessarily public business that goes on. I mean, it's just regular routine things. But I think transparency would start with speaking with the commissioners on a regular and frequent basis to let them know what's going on, and also to find out from them what's going on in the community. I've never been one to set up a tweeting account or anything like that. That can be done, but I think communication back and forth has to be done within what are the policy goals that the commission's achieving, how well are we meeting those things, and you can do an electronic newsletter. There's a bunch of things, but generally the weight of, especially in smaller municipalities, if you don't have a dedicated PIO person, it becomes very burdensome on a regular basis to speak to every individual who calls up. But I've been in the practice of going to homeowners association meetings and setting that up on a regular basis, and knowing the people who run each community group and meeting with them and going to their business meetings, going to their meetings, and giving an update on what's going on in the city. And that's a more controlled way to find out what they're thinking, what their concerns are, and to let them know what's going on. And I usually follow that up with phone calls to the commissioners to let them know how the meeting went, if there's any concerns, what we had, who showed up, what's going on in the community. So if you had community groups, I certainly think visiting them and talking with them would be a priority.
The next two questions will be asked by Commissioner McDonald.
Describe your work experience and why you think that you're the best suited to be the interim city manager for the city of Pahokee.
Well, I really don't want to speak to my competitors in this position. I'm sure they're all qualified. But I think I'm best qualified for my extensive experience in Florida. I also have experience in New Jersey, which you may not think translates too well, but it does as far as organization with people. And working in New Jersey in one job was a very rough and tumble type of experience. So I'm used to working with city commissions that are combative and ones that are work well together. So I have a wide range of those type of experiences, as well as having been through. We all know how the economy collapsed in 2009 and all the belt-tightening that went on. So I'm used to budgeting on a shoestring, and particularly I'm used to working in small towns, like I said before, where your employees have to wear a lot of different hats, which you may not recognize. They're doing 2 or 3 jobs typically, and I think that's why it would be a good fit for your city.
Describe your leadership style.
That one would have stuck me a little bit, because for so long I've been an assistant, and when you're an assistant, you really need to reflect the message and those things that are going out for the city manager and those people that you're working with. But when I was the city manager or the town manager in Newton, I tried my best to be ethical, to be honest, and to lead with passion, and now having the experience of having worked under the city I spoke to about in Dania Beach, where I had worked, I know my leadership style would change to be don't do things where you wouldn't want anybody to do to you. And what that means is that I really value open communication with superiors and getting right to the matter, not hiding things, because one of my philosophies is that if it smells now, it's going to stink later, right? No procrastination. Jump on it, see where it goes, because you don't know where things are going to go. And if you're upfront and honest, and everybody's on the same page, you can really weather anything. I'm not a micromanager by any extent, but I need to be. If I need to be, I would be. And I think that if I need to be, that might be an issue where some training is needed. I really recognize the value in having the right person for the job working for you. And I may have thought other things were more important in a city's resources, but caring people is the most important resource the city has. And taking care of that resource and making sure that those people are supported and understood would be the hallmark of my leadership style, especially in an interim position, because your staff may be nervous about what's going on or what may happen in the future, and I think a steady hand, one that would instill confidence in their work, would go a long way in preparing the city for a new city manager coming in.
Okay. The next two questions will be asked by Vice Mayor Williams.
Understanding that you are not in the position, and it may be hard to know unless you're doing the job, how would you prioritize the needs of the city of Pahokee at this point, based upon what you have read, heard, and seen?
I may be at a disadvantage because I'm not a Palm Beach resident and I'm not in your media circle. But I think whatever I had heard or read or anything along those lines, I think the first thing I need to do for priority is to speak to the commission, because you set the priority. And if you're looking to make a change, whatever in the past is past. So I think the most important thing is to do that and figure out what your priorities are and what you're looking to do, especially on an interim basis. You really can't make any big changes on an interim basis because you wouldn't be there to follow them, and then you'd be hamstringing someone else with those priorities. But I think being able to understand the priorities, and if there's something that you can work on an interim basis, it may be simple, or it may be doing some research or talking with the employees to figure out how problems might get solved. It might be communication issues, which are usually solved by more communication. My priority would be those of the city commission for the most part. You are my employer, and I firmly believe that you would know what's best and what those priorities are. And if we could work together and build a level of trust and have a frank conversation, and I think that's one of my traits, one of my strong traits, is that I'm not a blabbermouth. I can keep a confidence, and I can give good counsel. So that's what I would, that's how I would answer that. Thank you.
Describe your familiarity with the laws and regulations relevant to city government.
I'm used to having a city attorney, so I would rely on the city attorney for anything that is too dicey. But having been working in Florida for over 17 years, I'm pretty familiar with budgetary law, with the Sunshine Act, and I read periodicals, and I read the newspaper, and I stay abreast of professional developments in my professional organizations as to what's changing. I pay particular attention around, when the state legislature meets at the beginning of the year, and review the bills that come out afterwards, see if there's any changes that the city would need to make. And just having worked for so long, you know, there's always something you don't know. But anything of consequence, I would check with the city attorney. And usually you would know. Those would be big items. But I'm familiar with labor law, with a good deal of development law, personnel law as well. So I'm fairly confident in my my familiarity with Florida law.
Okay, the final two questions will be asked by Commissioner Scott.
How many years of management experience do you have?
I've got 17 in executive management experience. And I don't count my time in New Jersey as an assistant. Those would be I count those in New Jersey and in Florida, between, as an assistant city manager and a town manager. Because as the assistant city manager, I had, you know, I didn't have the power to hire and fire, but I could recommend. And I did directly manage half the departments for my time there.
Have you ever been disciplined in a position?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you for those answers in your interview. We'll be seeing you and getting back with you shortly. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The next person is Tamara Dowdell. We now introduce Ms. Tamara Dowdell.
Good evening, Mr. Marabab and Commissioners.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. What we're doing, we're going to allow you up to 5 minutes to give a brief explanation and tell us about your experience and your qualification. And then next we'll do questioning. We have 10 questions we're going to be asking. The City Commission will ask 2 each of us. Thank you. So you can begin with your introduction.
All right, good evening. First of all, I just would like to tell the mayor and the commissioners, thank you all for the opportunity to be here tonight. Again, I'm Tamara Dowdell, born and raised right here in Pahokee. Commissioner McDonald is my mom, but I take pride in being a citizen of Pahokee. I'm still here. I've had many opportunities to have left the city, but I choose to be here. My background in accounting gives me ability to work wherever I please. However, like I said, I choose to be in Pahokee because I'm a proud citizen of Pahokee. I went to school, Florida Tech. I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Accounting, cum laude honors. And I started my career at the school district of Palm Beach County. I worked there for about 5 years before leaving and moving to GO Correctional Facility in South Bay, where I was the assistant business manager, which is the finance position under the assistant warden of finance. So there I handled the budget of the facility. I managed staff in my department as well as other departments, facility-wide, managed capital projects there as well. We had a parking lot resurfacing project that I helped manage. We did a roof replacement on several of the buildings there that I also helped manage. So that's a little bit of my background there. And shortly after I started there, I was promoted to the assistant warden of finance in Milton, Florida at their Blackwater facility. And I did move away and go there for a short time, and afterwards I relocated back to Pahokee. So that's just a little bit about me and my history.
Okay, thank you for that introduction. Our first two questions will be asked by Commissioner McPherson Sr.
Good evening. First question is, why have you applied for the interim city manager position with the city of Pahokee?
As I said before, I'm a proud resident of Pahokee, so I've been able to see, the things that have been happening in the community, some of the changes that have been made. I'm heavily rooted here in this community, and I played my first organized basketball game right here at the gym under the leadership of Commissioner Scott here. So he coached me when I started playing basketball, so deeply rooted in the city of Pahokee. I desire nothing more than to see the city progress and see a change that will benefit the residents as well as myself and my children.
The second question is a two-part question. It says, how many years of municipal budget experience do you have, and in what capacity?
So I do not have any direct experience with municipal budgeting, but as I said, I was the assistant business manager as well as the assistant warden of finance at GO Correctional between two facilities, and I did manage the budgeting process there. So my job was to prepare the budget, where I would meet with department heads and get their input on what they'd like to see in their budgets. I would present the budget to the executive leadership team and also defend that budget when they'd have questions regarding what we had designated in that budget.
Explain your understanding of the principle of city budgeting.
So I do understand that city budgets must be transparent. They must be collaborational between, working with the commission to find out what their policy desires are, as well as collaborating with the community to find out what it is that they would like to see happening in the city. So definitely transparency is a key part of a city budget. The budget must also be balanced. So meaning whatever revenues we get in are designated to a specific accounts, and that there is no income or loss at the end of the year in the budget.
How would you ensure transparency and accountability in city operation? In other words, what measures would you take to see that the city commission and the public understand what takes place in City Hall?
So again, that falls under the transparency. So the city policies are widely published. But I would also have an open door policy. If there are citizens who have questions or concerns about things that are happening in the city, I'd welcome their input, their questions, their comments, whenever possible, as well as sitting down with the commission, understanding their concerns, their needs, and what they would require of me. So that is how I would handle that.
The next two questions will be asked by Vice Mayor Collins Williams.
Okay. Describe your work experience and why you think you are best suited to be the interim city manager for the city of Pahokee.
So as I mentioned before, I have a finance background, and I also neglected to mention the fact that for the past 5 years, I have been a realtor, which fosters a lot of relationship building. If you are not building relationships in real estate, then you don't have a business. So I do have the ability to forge relationships with others and network with others to be able to get things done. As well as my accounting background, as I said before, I was an assistant business manager where I managed employees, probably about 10 employees under me directly, and facility-wide, a total of over 300 employees that I managed indirectly. So, I mean, those, and also a prison is a lot like a city. The city would have a recreation and parks department. A prison would have a programs department. The city would have their public works department, and the prison would have a maintenance department. So there are a lot of things that are related when it comes to managing those two organizations. And I believe that experience as the assistant business manager, as well as the assistant warden of finance, managing budgets, forecasting, and financial reporting, things of that nature, give me the tools and skills that are necessary for a city manager.
Describe your leadership style.
So my leadership style would definitely be one of empowerment. I like to empower the staff who work with me. So that would look like if they come to me with an issue, instead of giving them the answer, I would prefer that they bring some solutions of their own. And even if they choose one that I know is probably not the best, I'd allow them to work through that and discover that on their own. That way, the next time an issue arises, they wouldn't have to come to me. They have that experience and they could solve that problem on their own. I'm also very results oriented. So yes, let's figure out the problem and understand what it is, but let's find a solution. I don't want to wallow in the problem, talk about the problem. Let's understand it and then let's move forward to solve it.
The next two questions will come from Commissioner Scott.
Oh, okay. Understanding that you are not in the position yet, and it may be hard to know unless you are doing the job, how would you prioritize the need of the city of Pahokee at the point based upon what you have read, heard, or seen?
Can you repeat that question for me?
It's asking how would you prioritize the city of Pahokee at the point based upon what you have heard, read, or seen about Pahokee?
So I don't follow the politics of the city very closely. I'm here, so I understand that there are some challenges that the city faces. There are, for lack of a better word, some tensions at times between the citizens and the commission. But I believe, like I said, in a collaborative effort. So my goal as the interim city manager would be to speak with each member of the commission, understand your policy priorities, and what you would like to see happening in the city, as well as communicating with the residents and understand what it is that they would like to see in the city. And then come together, bring those two together to put together a plan to begin to implement those things and make them come to fruition.
Okay, describe your familiarity with the law and regulation of the relevance to the city government.
So I am aware of the sunshine laws. I'm aware that there are labor laws that the city must adhere to, as well as other laws and regulations locally, as well as at the state level, that the city must adhere to when operating. So I mean, I am not familiar with them, but I mean, everything is figure outable in my opinion. So those things are all public. You can always go and look them up, refer to them at any point in time. So they're available to be read and understood.
Okay, the next question will come from Commissioner Mike Pearson.
How many years of management experience do you have?
So total, about 4 years of managerial experience, which would be my time at GEO Correctional, their facilities. And again, as I said, directly, I had about 10 direct reports. The department heads, which there was probably about 10 of them as well, they were not direct reports, but they did report to me when it was concerning any financial decision. So about 10 direct, 10 indirect, and then over 300 facility-wide.
And the last question would be, have you ever been disciplined in any position? If so, what was the outcome?
I have not.
And we thank you for your time and wish you good luck. And we'll be hearing from us shortly after this interview process is done.
Thank you.
I received notice that Rakeem Jackson and Jankiria Keenlock withdrew, so we'll be moving to Aaron Taylor. You now have Mr. Aaron Taylor. You may go to the podium.
At this time, Mr. Taylor, you may provide an introduction and tell us something about your experience and your qualification. You can take up to 5 minutes.
Okay, Aaron Taylor, how are you? Good evening to everyone. Should I start with education or just professional experience?
Either you, whatever you like, you can just share both or one or
Okay.
the other.
I have an undergraduate in business. I have an MBA PA as well. My career started with Palm Beach County zoning for 7.5 years, doing everything development and title related, site plan review, school boards, cell towers, pretty much anything built from Indian Town Road to Boca Raton. In that 7.5 years, I probably worked on in some form or fashion, future land use amendments, rezonings, you name it. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, fantastic. And then after I left there, I went to work for the Department of Economic Sustainability, which is now Housing and Economic Development, also with Palm Beach County on a 100 Australian. There, I did corporate financial analysis and underwriting for people looking to get federal funds from Palm Beach County, either through the Section 108 program or through the USDA program. They also had energy money and some Betty grants at the time. So a lot of the projects that you see, if you're familiar with Belgrade on Avenue A, on the north side of the road, on the south side you have all the older looking buildings, on the north side you have the newer ones. Those are the buildings that we funded when I was working with that program. Some of the other projects that were funded through that program was the marathon you guys have here at 680 Main Street and Circle S Pharmacy. And I also, when I left the county, people had asked me to consult for them because I'd worked with a lot of developers and architects over the years in getting projects approved. So they asked me to consult for them, and since that time, I've been doing everything I did for the government, but for the private sector. So whether it was private developers, architects, engineers, I do everything land development related. So from the real estate due diligence, entitlements, land acquisition, full planning and zoning approvals, so forth. And some of you may know that because I brought the One North Lake project to Pahokee. So that's essentially my background. So I'll open it up to whatever questions you may have.
Okay, thank you for that introduction. We have 10 questions, 2 each from each of the commission, and we'll have the first 2 asked by Commissioner Mike Pearson Sr.
Yes. Why have you applied for the interim city manager position with the city of Pahokee?
Honestly, I found out that Mr. Jackson was leaving, and when I looked online and saw that the position was posted, I've been trying to bring projects here even before I started consulting on my own. So honestly, whether it's a position I get or whether it's a position you guys deem somebody else is better for, I thought it was an opportunity to bring my expertise to the city and hopefully do the same thing I've always been doing. But if the board deems that someone else is a better fit, it doesn't change my direction for the city. I'll still be bringing projects and developers here. So I hope that answers the question.
The second question is a 2-part question. How many years of municipal budget experience do you have, and in what capacity?
I wasn't responsible for anything municipal budget related, but finance related. Like I said, when I worked for the Department of Housing and Economic Sustainability, now the Housing and Economic Department. On the corporate side, I did all the financial analysis and underwriting for corporations looking to get federal dollars. So from that perspective, if you're asking for municipal budgets between transportation, TIF dollars, property taxes, or how you guys get revenue to fund certain projects, that has not been my experience.
Okay, explain your understanding of the principle of city budgeting.
Essentially understanding where your revenue comes from, the policies and procedures meant to regulate how you administer those funds and allocate those funds, Also dealing with maybe capital improvement projects and how to prioritize those capital improvement projects based on the funding sources. And then allocating the money appropriately. And also seeking other funding sources for future capital improvement projects.
How would you ensure transparency and accountability in the city operation? In other words, what measures would you take to see that the city commission and the public understand what takes place at City Hall?
Well, it's my understanding that the board is the one who hires the city manager, so I'm beholden to the board first. So there's nothing that can be done without being transparent to you guys first. And anything that is transparent to you is also transparent to the public because it's all public record. So beyond that, I'm not really sure how to answer the question because everything I do under your authority requires me to bring it to you first and then to the public in this form.
And the next two questions will be asked by Commissioner McDonough.
Describe your work experience and why you think that you are best suited to be the interim city manager for the city of Pahokee.
Well, I think anybody who's a city manager has to be multifaceted. And in order to bring opportunities, development, growth in any city, it does require development. It requires partnerships, both public and private. It requires understanding finance. It requires understanding entitlement in real estate. And it requires somebody who can actually pull all that together. That's exactly been my experience, and whether it's for the city, that's exactly what I do for my clients now. So being that you guys actually are trying to grow, you're trying to expand, you're trying to do things with your marina, you're trying to bring in revenue, you're looking for partnerships to bring other development here, I think my expertise fits exactly what you guys are asking for, at least in that regard.
Describe your leadership style.
Direct and to the point. I prefer, especially when I'm coming into a new environment, to listen before I speak. For instance, I'm not from the city of Pahokee, although I've been coming out here periodically for years. For me to understand the dynamics of how this organization works, I'd have to actually speak to all the staff and the people who make the city operate and understand how that operation works before I can lead anything. After I understand the dynamics of how those departments operate and those individuals, then I have to see what's been done before me and try to direct staff from that point, and also based on the direction from the commission. I do not believe in micromanaging, so.
The next two questions will be coming from our Vice Mayor Williams.
Okay. Understanding that you are not in the position, and it may be hard to know unless you are doing the job. How would you prioritize the needs of the city of Pahokee at this point, based on what you have seen, heard, or read?
Okay. That seemed like a multifaceted question. You ask me one more time, so I'll make sure I get all that.
Understanding that you are not in the position, and it may be hard to know unless you're doing the job. How would you prioritize the needs of the city of Pahokee based on what you have read, heard, or seen?
I can only go based on what I've seen thus far. I'm not really sure how this will go over, but one of the biggest things I think that the city needs is cohesiveness, and I have not seen that throughout all my years of dealing with the city off and on. I've seen for whatever reason, a lot of staff come and go, different city managers come and go. Some of the board meetings I've been to, there seems to be a lot of tension between certain parties, whether it be board members or the citizens. And in my mind, everybody has an idea of how the city needs to progress. They're just not sure on how to get there together. So in my mind, if you're asking me based on my experience, cohesiveness is one, but from my perspective, everything can be corrected with the right amount of revenue. You guys have needs in this city that haven't been addressed because you have limited revenue sources, and you need to get more in. You need to get development in. You need to get more private-public partnerships. You need to get people to have confidence in the city, and the fact that there's not just talk, but things are actually moving forward and people can see things coming out of the ground. So from my perspective, trying to bring development here and trying to increase your tax base and trying to increase property values and trying to change the dynamic of the city to make people outside of the city actually interested in it as well and see the city for what it could be.
Describe your familiarity with the laws and regulations of city government.
That's a pretty broad question. And you asked me one more time, and I guess I would ask, is there a specific part of city government specifically that you're talking about? Because I can speak about city government and the things that I was regulated to do when it came to financial underwriting and compliance. If you're
Just
asking me,
laws and regulations related to city government that you're familiar with. Any laws and regulations that you're familiar with?
the only ones I'm familiar with, direct experience, are planning, zoning, entitlement, land use, future land use, code changes, and anything that dealt with people getting government dollars for projects that are being funded by either the county or the Fed. Those are the only laws that I have personal experience with.
The next two questions will be asked by Commissioner Scott.
All right. How many years of management experience do you have?
Total, let's see, 2018 to now, it's 7, I'd say maybe 7 to 8 years total.
Have you ever been disciplined in any position? If so, what was the outcome of the discipline?
No, actually.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. That will conclude your interview, and wish you good luck, and we'll have some results hopefully by the end of this process.
Okay, thank you guys very much.
The next person will be Mr. Sammy Walthor, in which I will now try to get him on the line.
Hi, this is Sam. Sorry I missed your call. Please leave a message and I'll... Hi, this is Sam.
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, is this Mr. Sammy Walthor?
Yes.
Okay, we have you on the line. Mayor, you may proceed.
Hello, Mr. Sammy. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's a little faint, but I can hear you.
Okay, I try to speak a little louder. We'll be conducting your interview by telephone. What we'd like for you to do is take up to 5 minutes and give us an introduction of yourself with your experience and your qualifications.
Okay. Well, first off, I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Mayor,
Vice Mayor, members of the commission, staff, and residents for the opportunity to talk to you this evening by telephone. It's really an honor and a pleasure, and I appreciate it very much. Just to share a little bit about me, I've been a part of local government for well over 20 years. I grew up in Miami, started my professional work in local government with Miami-Dade County government, worked there for several years, did a lot of work in community action at the time, the manager's office for a few years. I became department deputy director, then director, and ran 2 different departments with a lot of cross-functional teams on those in those different departments. I moved on and I worked also for Hillsborough County government for a brief period of time, just over a year, and got out of local government for a while, worked in DC. I was the international executive director of my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma, for a couple of years. That was a interesting and great experience. And then moved back to South Florida in 2020 after a period of time being up further up north, and started with the city of Delray Beach over the past 4+ years started in as a code administrator and moved on to the interim department director, ultimately the department director for the last 4 years, leaving that position earlier this year. What I'd like to say is my experience in local government has been entrenched in the operations, customer-facing service that are facing the public, everything from code compliance to sanitation to transitioning a answer center to what is now Miami-Dade 311. Ran the largest passport acceptance agency in the Southeast, a number of other operational experiences that I have. And my focus has been primarily on improving the organizational performance of organizations. I like to come in and take a look and see what's happening with organizations, talk to staff, align with the priorities of the organization itself, and then move together with the team to develop ways to improve the performance for the benefit ultimately of the residents and businesses that we serve. And just wanted to kind of highlight a few things. I've worked in populations from 70,000 to 2.5 million, of course, in Miami-Dade County. I worked with staffs from as small of a group as 10 or 11 people to over 250 in multiple locations. So my operational experience is solid. It spans over 20 years, and it cuts across both municipal and county governments and a bit of nonprofit work as well. So beyond that, I'm married, have 2 adult children and 6 grandchildren. And I'm going to stop right there with that overview.
Okay, thank you very much for that introduction. We're going to be asking a series of questions, actually a total of 10 questions. There'll be 2 each by each of our commission. And we'll start with the first 2 by Commissioner McPherson.
Good evening. Why have you applied for the interim city manager position with the city of Pahokee?
I do apologize, Commissioner. Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Why have you applied for the interim city manager position with the city of Pahokee?
Why have I applied? Well, I believe based on my background and experience and the ability to come into an organization and work together to assess the situation and focus in on making sure the organization is ready, is stable, is transparent, and just setting up a smooth transition for the manager, the permanent manager. So I believe with my skill set, I'm able to come into an organization and do that. So my desire is to help the organization and work as a team, not only with the staff and the commission, but also with the community to make sure that the city of Pahokee moves forward and the permanent manager, whomever that might be, is in good shape as far as taking on a role with an organization that is ready to move forward. So that's my interest, is to be that transition bridge and work with everyone to help accomplish that.
Okay, thank you. Question 2 is a part 2 question. How many years of municipal budget experience do you have, and in what capacity?
Okay, in terms of municipal budget, I've worked with, as I mentioned in my intro, with the city of Delray Beach. I was there short of 5 years, and as the department director for over 4 of those years, well, just over 4 of those years, I worked directly with the team to develop the budget. That department was made up of 4 separate divisions: sanitation, code, all of the affordable housing, and the downtown, which we called Clean and Safe at the time, was the name of that division. So worked with those divisions to develop their divisional budgets and pull it together overall for the department's budget. Worked directly with the finance department to ensure that we were in compliance with all of the requirements to develop that budget, and also met with the manager to justify the budget and walk through the needs and the changes, and then ultimately before the commission, if at those budget workshops and other situations, commission meetings, discuss the budget and go from there as far as explaining the departmental budget. But beyond that, with Delray Beach, I worked for multiple years at Miami-Dade County, starting way back in the late 90s, early 2000s, working on departmental budgets in the capacity of either a assistant department director, or in the case of when I worked in the manager's office, worked directly with multiple departments that was under the portfolio of my boss, who was an assistant county manager at the time. And as a department director, worked directly with the Department of Team Metro, Office of Neighborhood Compliance, and others to prepare those budgets, to justify what the proposed budget was at the time, and as needed to make any presentation or any respond to any concerns or questions from the commission. So between municipal and county, it's right at about 20 years of experience in various capacities working with budgets. Budgets that I was responsible for were north of $20 million for the most part in those various experiences.
Explain your understanding of the principle of city budgeting.
Understanding, I'm sorry, say again.
Explain your understanding of the principles of city budgeting.
You're still going out a little bit. You said city budgeting?
Yes.
Well, my understanding primarily is the commission, of course, works to set the proposed millage, and of course that impacts how departments will ultimately prepare in terms of their fiscal budgets, and your budget over the last 3 years has dropped a little bit. You've gone down about roughly 16% over the last 3 fiscal years based on the adopted budget for 25-26. So the understanding is that the budget has to be balanced, and working with departments specifically to ensure that those budgets and how they set those budgets up for the respective departments, that it's going to be a balanced budget. And with the emphasis on the core services, not losing the core services, the level of service you want to maintain. And so in some instances in a year where the budget is somewhat lower, working closely with those departments to ensure that whatever reductions that need to be made are made very intentionally, so that the core services that need to be in the community, serving the community, are not impacted. So, and that's my general idea around that.
How would you ensure transparency and accountability in city operations? In other words, what means would you take to see that the city commission and public understands what is taking place in the city hall?
That's a good question, and although you went in and out, I understand the gist of your question. I think it's critical for the manager, interim manager in this case, to ensure that a level of communication happens in a way where, one, the commission is kept abreast of how operations are happening in a timely manner. And that could be done in a number of ways. That could be done in individual meetings that should be scheduled on a regular basis with commissioners. That could be a form of a communication that's done weekly, bi-weekly, whatever the frequency may need to be, as far as the internal communication with the commission. And then also when it comes to the community, there are a number of ways to do that. There are ways to do that at the respective commission meetings. There are ways to go out into the community and meet with groups and make sure that they know what's happening. Communications, being able to put out communications that share what's happening in the city, specific to projects, initiatives, and other things that should be of their interest. And I think that's the starting place, making sure that the in-person meetings, that the public meetings via commission meeting, workshops, et cetera, and being able to put out information through various forms to the community, and even going out in the community and communicating with folks and making sure you're transparent. There are a lot of things you could do. You could do everything from having a scorecard, an abbreviated one that kind of is front-facing and updates the community on things that are key goals for the city. You could do a number of ways of putting that out. There are a number of ways of putting that out, and just ideas that make sure that the community is well aware. And you have to do it in multiple ways. There's not one set way, but you got to find multiple vehicles through which to do that, so that there's a level of transparency and people are comfortable, even if they're asking critical questions, but they're comfortable with the fact that the administration is not trying to hide anything from either the commission or the community at large.
Thank you. The next two questions will be asked by Commissioner McDonald.
Describe your work experience and why you think that you're the best suited to be the interim city manager for the city of Pahokee.
And I do apologize. You were going in and out as you were asking the question, if you don't mind repeating.
Describe your work experience and why you think that you are the best suited to be the interim city manager for the city of Pahokee.
So, and if I didn't catch the first part of the question, I do apologize. I think that me being considered as a candidate, my experience in local government, both county and municipal government, I started on the front line, so I know what it's like to be a worker, working with the community, and trying to work with them to become eligible to receive assistance that might be food or rent assistance, or working with a youth group that's in the community and getting them experiences that enrich their lives. I know what it's like to be in a supervisory role, to run an operation that may be grant-based. I know what it's like to be an assistant director, a deputy director, a department director, working in the manager's office in a capacity, helping departments achieve their strategic goals. And so across 25, 30 plus years of experience in various capacities, I believe it's positioned me to be able to take on a task like this, and because I'm a quick learner and I know how to look at things strategically, I know how to make sure that those who are responsible as the elected body, keeping them abreast of what is going on and how we plan to address various issues. So having experience from the front line all the way to executive leadership, I believe is important in the role, in stepping into a role such as an interim city manager. And it's taken a lot of years, but I believe that I'm prepared to take on the role and deal with it in an effective way.
Describe your leadership style.
My leadership style has always been collaborative. And what I mean by that is I'm always looking for the team. If I talk about the team first, I always look for the team to be a part of the solution. I don't believe in an autocratic style. So when it comes to, if it's working on developing an initiative, there's nothing wrong with pulling together a small group, 2-3 people, process improvement. Hey, work on this initiative, come back with some recommendations. I'm not shy about making the tough decisions. I'm okay with that. But I believe when the rank and file have, if I can use the term, skin in the game, they definitely will buy in, because if they had a hand in developing whatever it is, a policy, an initiative, solving an issue, then there's going to be greater buy-in. As it relates to the commission itself, I believe communication is key. So making sure that timely communication on issues that impact the community, that impact the city organization, that's something that you've got to do. And then working together as a partner. I believe that the relationship of a city commission and a city manager is basically a symbiotic relationship, in that it's mutual. The goals are mutual goals. Of course, there's the power of the commission, so it's not equal in that sense, but it's mutual in the sense that the working together has to happen in a way to benefit the community that we serve. So collaboration is always what I believe has been the most effective way to lead.
The next two questions will come from our Vice Mayor, Vice Mayor Williams.
Okay. Understanding that you are not in the position, and it may be hard to know unless you are doing the job, how would you prioritize the needs of the city of Pahokee at this point, based upon what you have read, heard, or seen?
Well, I think the key to, and that's a very good question. Thank you very much for that. The key is making sure that I'm aligned with the priorities that the commission has. It's good to, yes, I've looked at articles and I've looked at your website and I've looked at your budget and various things, but to make sure that the role is carrying out the role in a way that is going to be satisfactory to the commission, then I have to ensure that one of the first things as a part of maybe a 30, 60, 90-day exercise is listen and assess. And in some instances, if something needs to be stabilized right away, address that. But to come in, you cannot, in my opinion, have like a preset set of ideas that I've got to do this, this, and this, because I would need to hear from you as a commission first in terms of the priorities that need to be tackled. Of course, working with the team to understand what these issues are, what the initiatives are, what some things that need to be wrapped up, and do that. And then beyond that, listening and assessing and stabilizing, you want to make sure that I think beyond that, you're prioritizing and aligning everything, and then moving beyond that into full implementation down the road. So I wouldn't have a set of specific things to do right away, other than making sure that I'm listening, assessing, stabilizing, prioritizing, and then being able to move forward.
Describe your familiarity with laws and regulations relevant to city government.
My familiarity with laws relative to city government?
Yes.
Well, I know that in Florida, as a city government, you're able to establish local ordinances, of course, resolutions, and other ways that you're setting out the priorities for the city itself as policymakers. And of course, that all has to align with the state of Florida. Things certainly, as we know at the local level, cannot supersede state law. But you have that priority and prerogative to be able to set ordinances in alignment with the state parameters. And as a administrator, the administrator would make sure that those policies and those priorities are executed, and making sure that the commission is getting the level of feedback that it needs, and have the information so that proper oversight by the elected body could happen.
Okay, the final two questions will be asked by Commissioner Scott.
Mhm.
How many years of management experience do you have?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, would you repeat that for me?
How many years of management experience do you have?
Management experience? Well over 20 years of management experience.
Okay. Have you ever been disciplined in any position?
Disciplined in a position?
Yeah.
No, I've never been disciplined in a position. but I believe on my application I shared that my experience in if you look at my resume, you'll see Hillsborough County. I chose to resign that position after 13 months, and I can get into the details, but just short and sweet. The organization values certainly didn't align with my professional values or my personal values, and I made a decision to step away from that. So as far as my work ethic and my evaluations through the years, I've never gotten a bad evaluation in all the years that I've worked in both public and nonprofit sector.
Okay, Mr. Sammy, that would include your interview. We're going to take time now and deliberate.
Again, I apologize. You went in and out on the question.
That
Could you
would
repeat that?
conclude your interview. We thank you for the time you took to interview on behalf of the Pahokee City Commission. Thank you. We'll now begin some deliberation. So your interview has ended. Thank you so much for participating.
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate it to the mayor, to the vice mayor and commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to do it via phone. It was a little tough in terms of the audio, but I do appreciate the opportunity to share my background and experience, and looking forward to the possibility of working with you on your teams.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, we have our scorecards. What we'll do is add up our scores, provide that information to the clerk. We'll do it verbally, and then we'll deliberate from the highest person who received the highest rated score. We'll talk about what we'll do from that sense. What we're gonna do at this time, I don't know if everyone finished adding. We're gonna take who was your candidate of preference, who was your highest scored candidate, and see if we have a consensus on that part of it. And then we'll move to a total score and see if one of the two would suffice.
You want me to go first?
You can go first, Mr.
Oh,
Scott.
my high score was Tammy Bussey.
Okay. My highest score was Mr. Ramsey.
I have a tie. I have Tammy Bussey and Mr. Ramsey. Attorney, may I ask a question? I know Ms. McDonald had to be excused for Mr. Idell. How would that, as far as play out?
She would need to declare her own conflict. It's not really a city, it's a personal issue that would need to be put on the record, and the appropriate form would have to be filled out, and she would need to declare.
And if I remember correctly, I don't think we agreed to a scoring system when we made the decision, we did the census. But I just want to put that on the record.
So should we continue to do something else? We didn't vote on it. We said we wasn't gonna have a scoring system, we did. So we should just be writing, we just should be choosing who we, because we didn't choose, say we was gonna use the scoring system. I guess we'll just need to write our notes down.
Just for clarity, this was a part of the questions from last year, so this is the same form. It just was reviewed by the city attorney and HR.
Okay, so when we, let me just get
It's just the
clarification.
questions
Yeah.
that I reviewed. We don't have anything to do with your scoring system or how you select or anything like that, so just want to be.
But I'm just saying for clarity, it was the same form.
It's the same
Yes,
form,
ma'am.
but I guess, let me make sure, because I want to do things right. So we did not agree on a scoring system. We said we would just appoint. Because I think, right, Mayor Bab, we did, so we don't have to add up our points. No.
We didn't discuss.
Right, okay, so we just, whoever
once going through and listening to everyone?
I don't know. I believe that since we have a scoring system, we need to at least follow through with that.
If we don't have it, then it makes sense to follow.
Put that on the record, just, when we say we're gonna do something, we need to follow through with what we take a census on. I'm just I gotta be honest and straightforward like that.
I mean, this is for the citizens, right? It's trust. Our well-being, the city, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing if we have a consensus as far as the preference of the commission as a whole. My preference would be the highest one I scored, which would be Ramsey. Commissioner McPherson is tied with Ramsey and Tammy Bussey. And we're just looking to see what you all, and Commissioner Scott indicated his preference and vote was for Bussey. Commissioner McDonough has rated Butsy her highest score.
Okay, and my highest one. Okay, my highest two is Ramsey and Bussy, but Bussy has the highest.
Pick one.
Bussy has the highest, Tanner Bussy has the highest for mine.
Total points.
We can either do it two ways if there's a majority.
What are you doing? Let's go to say it. You scared to say it later?
Oh, my God.
Just pray.
What's going on?
Ma'am, we still deliberating, please. We have three, I believe, that has Tammy Bussey as the highest rated, and one as a tie, which would be actually four, if I'm not mistaken. I can entertain a motion to that effect to have Tammy Bussey appointed as the interim city manager based on the majority preference by this commission.
Mayor Bab, I move that we appoint Tammy Bussey as the interim city manager.
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Williams and properly second by Commissioner McPherson.
Mr. Mayor,
To appoint.
if I can read the resolution into the record. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, appointing an interim city manager, providing for compensation, providing for adoption of representations, providing for an effective date.
It has been moved in second. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Can we please include the resolution inside the motion as well?
That's what, it was read into the record, and so right now they're voting on the resolution. And the insert piece would be Ms. Tammy Bussey as the interim city manager.
Okay, because it was made without it. So Vice Mayor Calvin Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner McPherson,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Mayor Bab.
Yes. Motion passed by unanimous vote. Next, we'll have our citizen comments. City Clerk, are there any comments card completed by any of our citizens?
Yes, sir. At this time, we have three. The first person is former Vice Mayor Clara Mervin.
Hopefully she would teach you really about city government.
Come on. Please, we have someone speaking.
Oh, Jesus. First, I would like to extend my gratitude to the city manager, Mr. Michael Jackson, for his service during his short tenure with the city of Pahokee. I wish you well and blessings as you move forward. Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Commission. The time has come to confront reality. Our city is in a critical state. For far too long, Pahokee has lived without stability of consistency, leadership at the very top. With every change in this critical role, progress is stalled, residents lose confidence, and our city is left without steady guidance in its desperate needs. The residents of Pahokee are tired of revolving doors of leadership we deserve. Ma'am, can you please quiet the audience, please?
Ma'am, could you please not speak while someone's speaking?
This decision before you is not routine. It is one of the most critical votes you will ever make as a commissioner. Pahokee needs stability within our top leadership role, the position of the city manager, who is the essence, the CEO of the city and responsible for day-to-day operations that keep our community moving. Choosing the right person is not just about filling a vacancy. It is about restoring trust, rebuilding confidence, and ensuring our city has experience and proven leadership required to guide us forward. And make no mistake, the eyes of the state, the county, and local leaders are also upon you. They are watching closely to see whether this commission can rise.
Thank you.
No shit ass. And you get real, you looking like a dickhead. Oh my God. And Tom Mary, you going to prison for stealing all that money.
Bring it on.
That's why you want everybody to steal.
Excuse ignorancy. And make no mistake, the eyes of the state, the county, and the local leaders are also upon you. They are watching closely to see whether this commission can rise above politics, personal agendas, and the vision to make the wise and steady choice that our community deserves. Every choice made on this dais reflects not only you individually as commissioners, but on the city of Pahokee as a whole. This is your moment to lead, to restore trust, to secure stability, to choose wisely, and to ensure that our city prepared to move forward with strength. Commissioners, history will record what you do in this moment, and the future of Pahokee depends on it. Thank you very much for your consideration of listening.
The next person is Mr. Carl Morrison Sr.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Carl Morrison Sr. First, I would like to say congratulations to your new appointee. Second, I have a question. Is it the same qualification for the appointee in reference to a city manager? Is the same qualification that you all was going by? That's a question to the diocese. Anyway, if it was the same qualification, if you look at half of the application that was sent in, you have 9 on here, 60% of those people would not qualify by what you have on paper. And I would hope that you would allow the HR person to do her job to help you. You're sitting up here going over 9 applications, when in reality there wasn't a need to go for 9 applications if you would have allowed her to go through and do her job. A couple weeks ago, I heard a concern report about how much she's making. Well, let her work for her money. In this situation, you all did not do that, and it would have saved you time and effort. Also, I would hope when you're looking for the permanent position that you would allow her to help you do your job better. Thank you. And Ms. McDonough, I want to thank you for recusing yourself when it came to your daughter as far as asking questions, but also with the city attorney. I hope she would advise you all on section 2-91 as far as qualification. And you didn't do that, and you should have. Thank you.
Sir, you don't know whether I did that or not.
In public, you did not do that. I do know that. It's not on record.
The last comment card is from former Commissioner Allie Biggs.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor and Dias members. Allie H. Biggs, 1547 Reverend Jesse Biggs Boulevard, Pahokee, Florida. I am here for the city of Pahokee. I am here again, I say, for the city of Pahokee. I want to first thank all of those that had the nerve or the guts to just apply to be the manager of this city. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for just having the nerve to come out. Anyway, I have no qualms with anybody in here whatsoever, but I am concerned about my city. And I understand the state that the city of Pahokee is in at this present time. The state of this city is at its lowest I've ever been, and I'm 85 years old, and I've been here since I was 6 months old. All right? Secondly, we have no ad valorem taxes in Pahokee. We don't have enough homes to build up that. We don't have no businesses, a lot of businesses that will bring monies into the city. And so, and the citizens themselves cannot afford to take care of the city. But however, we are so messed up because citizens in our community went to Tallahassee, wrote letters to Tallahassee, DC, and everywhere else to the legislature, telling them not to give us any monies for our city. And everybody on this dais know for 3 years, the city of Pahokee haven't received a dime. So yet we sit around here and talk about things in the past instead of coming together. And some people know, because my neighbors, they know what I'm talking about, and they know I'm not lying. But the thing about it is, you'd rather get together and cause problems instead of coming together as a community to build up and hold each other's hand. I don't care what person come up here as a manager, if the commission don't work together with that manager, like they don't believe in doing, and they know that, if they don't get together and get all the information that they need to do instead of coming up here showboating about stuff that's unnecessary. And I love everybody, but I'm telling you the truth. It's more to it than just you're talking about what I can do. It's not a man. Sister Taylor said it. There's no I in team. It takes all of us together, not just the commissioners and the manager, but the citizens as well. But we put all our dirty mess on the laundry, out on the air, on Facebook and everywhere, and the whole world is looking at. I applaud you guys for coming here, trying to be a city manager. But if I was able and had the ability, but remember this, everybody in their own state that go for the attorney, all of you all, if you're a teacher, you had to go to school to get your degree. You don't jump up here and just, because the manager's there, I know more than the manager. So you're going to take over the manager's job. You're going to take over the clerk's job. You don't know the attorney this. You're going to do it. And you can't do it because you're not qualified in that position. All I'm saying is, citizens of Pahokee, we need to wake up. If you can't come together now, you can forget it. I don't care who run for whatever, brother. It won't work, because guess what? The same stuff, you see the pattern. The same stuff is going on. I have nothing against Tammy. That child, her mom and I was the best of friends. I'm just talking about give everybody the opportunity to speak up. And it's not about her and her position. It's about what you already see that has already happened. But until we wake up and face the music, we need teamwork and we need cohesion. As all of them have been said, we are not together. We're going to go out here, and then people help you to do something, and you stab them in the back. We need to watch this stuff, because everybody got to give an account one day. And when that time comes, you can't put it on somebody else. Thank you.
Having all business taken care of that been brought before us, I entertain a motion for the adjournment of the meeting.
Mayor, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor and second by Commissioner McPherson Senior. Call for question. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam.
Vice Mayor Calvin Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner McPherson?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Mayor Bab?
Yes. Meeting adjourned at 8:59.